Polkadot auctions are less than a month away, and we got to talk with Bette Chen today from Acala. You don't know Bette Chen? Come on. Hi there, and welcome to the Parachain Auctions podcast hosted by Kraken. I'm Brian Hoffman, Crypto Platform Product Lead, and I'm glad you could join me out here on the cutting edge of crypto technologies. On this show, you'll hear from leaders and innovators around the world building parachains on Polkadot and Kusama. Tune in for insights from the best and brightest about their new projects. Whether this is the first you've heard of parachains or you're a DeFi aficionado, come with us behind the scenes as we explore the technology of the future today. Today, we welcome back Dan Reecer, who's the VP of Growth at Acala, who has joined us a couple of times previously to talk about the team's Kusama project, Karura. And we'd like to extend a huge welcome to Bette Chen, who's the co-founder and COO of Acala Network. It's great to have both of you here with us today. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. It's quite a pleasure to be on.
Yep, good to be here.
Oh, that's nice to hear. Yeah, 25 episodes in. It's funny today. We found out that we're being dubbed in Russian now on YouTube. So I guess we finally made it. Nice. But you know, it's really great to be able to have you on, Bette. You've been in so many of the videos for Karura and Acala. I think everybody who is familiar with the project is probably familiar with your name. So I really appreciate you being able to join Dan on this. And Dan was our first guest ever, which is pretty cool to have you back. Before we get into things, I'd really just love to learn a bit more about you, Bette. I know all your videos are like very dense about the protocol and the project and everything, but we love to like kind of see a little bit behind the scenes of like the people that are involved. So how did you get started in tech to begin with? Did you go to school for engineering?
Yeah, so I did my undergrad at University of Auckland, engineering, and specialized in software. So I was an engineer right out of school. But today, very ashamed. Probably I'm the least nerdy person in the team, I think. I no longer code, but I can still read Substrate. That's the only thing left in me. So that's a long time ago. And then I was an engineer and has always been working in tech. There's just something in tech that it's very hard for me to get out of, whether it's Web2 that I used to work in SaaS and Web2 companies. And then it was about 3 or 4 years ago, I was fortunate enough to turn a personal passion into a professional one and make the transition into blockchain. And later in my career, I'd gone from the coder side to the darker side of product management. And then I got my degree, MBA degree, which is even darker, from University of Otago and also Duke from the US. But it turned out that everything that you've done in your life previously is going to serve some sort of purposes down the track. Only when you look back, the dots actually line up. When you look forward, everything is chaos. So so that's I ended up working as a product manager in a blockchain project here in New Zealand. It's quite an amazing transition from Web 2 to Web 3 because all of a sudden, back then, 3 and 4 years ago, not that many people, like especially professionals, like product managers, are working in the field. But once I enter the field, you get exposed to a tremendous amount of talent. Like really, you get the sharpest minds, and people come to the field because they're intellectually challenged and intrigued by the tech. So I met my 2 other co-founders during that process, Brian and also Retail. And that's also, sort of the beginning of how we get to know each other and work together on projects, and then subsequently kind of like quit our jobs and then and come to create a startup subsequently. Yeah.
Yeah, as a fellow person who quit a nice stable job to do a startup, I can sympathize dramatically on that. It is quite a lot of work, and it's pretty impressive to be able to succeed at that. So you said you got into blockchain like 3 or 4 years ago. Prior to that, like, were you just familiar with Bitcoin and crypto in general, or was it like completely new to you and you were working in a different area?
Yeah, so personally, I actually got introduced to Bitcoin about 6 or 7 years ago, and probably even earlier. But the first time, unfortunately, I was like many other people, I dismissed the idea because the information was passed on to me from someone that I thought it was a scammer. And then I left that idea for a couple of years, and then later on, I actually not only read the white paper, obviously, but also Master Bitcoin is the book that I actually went very deep into. And then even got to a point where I used JavaScript to program a blockchain to actually, really got the grasp of how everything works. And that's where the magic clicks, right? Because as engineers, once you realize how this thing actually works, all the languages that use on the media, the articles, start to make a lot more sense, right? Things become more substantial, and you can actually understand things with substance and see where things could go from that point on. And that's really the starting part for my rabbit hole experience. And I start to spend more and more my personal time digging into the technology, trying to figure out where I can actually contribute. And then, I think like many people, once you start seeking, looking for opportunities, some magic will just happen, and manage to get into the field that way. So yeah.
Incredible. Yeah, everybody kind of goes down the rabbit hole in their own special way, don't they? My father this week had said, I've gone down the rabbit hole of crypto. I bought a Bitcoin. I think I'm like deep in this. So it's pretty basic moves, but everybody learns in their own ways. Programming a whole blockchain in JavaScript, that's next level. So you mentioned you started a startup with Rutao, who's also part of Acala, I believe. You guys founded Laminar, if that's how you pronounce it. That's the best I could do.
Yeah.
So what is that? Like, how did that come about, and what was the goal there, and what are you guys working on?
Yeah, so when we quit our jobs, we were very much a decentralization enthusiasts. So we believe everything is going to turn Web3, basically. However, our thesis for creating Laminar was we think finance is going to be the first breaking point or the turning point for the industry for a number of reasons, right? So one is we actually had a background in finance and also connections in the TradFi space. So we got a little bit more insights into what's actually going on, and then what are the challenges and pain point. So the pain point there is huge, right? So it has enough sort of motivation to kind of spend time and effort in new innovations. So that's one. And then the second thing is a lot of the TradFi agencies already facing very fierce competition, and then brought by this garden walled approach of doing things like black boxed, pricing sort of opaque. There's a lot of inertia there for them to move forward, basically continue to grow or continue to innovate. And then on top of that, finance has the attribute of kind of suck up all the inconvenience of a new technology has brought to the field, right? For example, the transactions may not be super fast, or the fees may be very high at a certain point in time, but finance has the attribute that it can actually combat, it can actually suck up those due to the nature of, you can have a larger transaction than you can kind of, handle it. So it has big enough sort of upside in terms of innovation, and then, bearable pain that it can actually contain itself. So we think finance is going to be this kind of the first person to open the Pandora box, right? Once it's open, once the infrastructure gets set up, then every other industry that we thought is going to be able to leverage the Web3 technology. So then we thought, the first thing we're going to do is just to build something on the DeFi and then see how much we can contribute, and then also help others. And so that's where Laminar comes from, is a DeFi protocol development company. And then it was an interesting start because as soon as we founded the company, we went to Hangzhou. So that was the first substrate hackathon I think globally at the time. And then our CTO, so by then we've already been a contributor to Substrate, I think for half a year or something like that. So we were one of the very early or first teams outside of Parity to kind of took interest in the tech stack. So our CTO Brian was invited as a judge for the hackathon, and we all went, and then Gav also on the panel as a judge as well. And then it's on that hackathon we met this other early contributor to Polkadot ecosystem called Polka Wallet. So they were one of the first. They were the first mobile wallet there. Met their founder Fu Yao. And that was like we were actually tapped on the shoulder to say, do you want to build something more fundamental like stablecoin, because it's kind of needed for the industry, for the ecosystem. And then we were like, if we were to build something on Polkadot, it's very different from building a smart contract on, say, Ethereum, because everything you build is going to have this network effect, because Polkadot is an internet of blockchain, right? So everything you build, it's going to be able to serve the entire ecosystem. So it can't be built by just one team. So we kind of team up with Polka Wallet then, as they were having similar visions. But of course, it's not like we met the first time and we start dating, right? We kind of like start a GitHub repo, because both sides at that time we were just engineers. And yeah, we coded for a few months, and then found out each other is very, very solid builder. And then we kind of move ahead to actually seal the relationship and created Acala at that point. And then, yeah, it's been 2 years or so since then. So yeah, it's going very, very strong. And now we're more like, one team, although, that was the sort of the pre-story of Acala.
It's pretty interesting how it's like you guys formed this like super team here from two of the kind of early projects in the space. How many people are at Acala now, like total?
We start with 4, and now it's probably 34, and it's probably still going. And then we had 2 larger engineering team, one in New Zealand, and then one in China, and that's the Laminar sort of team, and also the Polkadot team. But since then, we've grown outside of those 2 continents. So we've got folks in the US, also in Europe as well. So it's like cross 4 or 5 different continents, various different time zones. So yeah, so that's us.
Must be very difficult to coordinate all of that, but it seems to be going well so far. So let's talk about how have things gone. I mean, you guys were the first ones to win a slot. And so it's actually been quite a while, based on that. We've seen 11 slot auctions so far, which, by the way, wasn't the original plan. So, it's been really, really fascinating how that's developed. But how are things going? Like, what's the state of the project and everything?
Yeah, it's been quite the run since we last talked. So I guess an update on everything. So as you mentioned, we won the first auction on Kusama with our Kusama-based network called Karura. Since launch, we have basically rolled out all of our products. So we've launched the first decentralized stablecoin in the Kusama and Polkadot ecosystem called the Karura dollar, or KUSD. We recently launched our liquid KSM staking product. This will also be a product on Polkadot and Acala for liquid dot staking. We've, of course, released our decentralized exchange, Karura Swap, and actually just last night had a presentation with Bifrost, one of the other teams who was in that first batch of projects. They have now kind of transferred their tokens over to Karura, and we're initiating this first couple of days of a kind of a warm-up period for the listing of this token, and it'll be the first cross Parachain token listing on the DEX since we've launched. So that's pretty exciting to see. So that's kind of where we are with Karura. The good thing is that we've been able to kind of work our way through this whole process. We've already kind of been through this once, and now going into the Polkadot auctions, we've done an auction before. We know how to do that. We've done all these product rollouts. So we've learned lessons from what went well, what we can improve next time. So now when we launch on Polkadot, we've kind of already done this once. So part of the reason for Kusama, as everyone knows, is for kind of rolling out technical products first on Kusama before they make it to Polkadot. But what I've started to realize is it's not just benefiting the developers, it's benefiting us on the community side, on the marketing side, strategy, because like I said, we've already done this now once. So we're kind of not experts yet, but we're at least slightly seasoned in this whole process.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you real quick. I mean, I just saw news recently that Cosmos is actually deciding to do a Kanary chain. I mean, do you think this is like a trend that's going to continue with other blockchains? Or, I mean, did you guys find it valuable overall to have that happen before you started to go after the Acala parachain on Polkadot?
Yeah, I'm sure Bette has comments on this too. But yeah, it was interesting to see the Cosmos ecosystem kind of creating one of these Kanary networks or experimental networks to help benefit the main net. And who knows? Like, there's definitely been some people talking about, will Ethereum create a Kanary network for ETH2? We'll see. That would be pretty interesting, but it's definitely proven its worth to us already, for all the reasons that I've already mentioned. And I'm sure Bette has more comments even on the technical side. And Bette, maybe you can even talk about like Gauntlet and the financial modeling that like Karura is helping us with in preparation for Acala as well.
Yeah, so I think a lot of things in Polkadot is good stuff takes a long time. Took Polkadot 3 years, took us like 2 years to get to this point. But when we first started, multi-chain, we've been advocating that and nobody cared. And then look what happened now. And also, specialized blockchain, and also having a Kanary network due to the complexity of all of this stuff is going to pan out. So I guess, but it's actually a great thing to see, because there's usually, well, not usually, but I can see the two approaches to solving some of the challenges that we have. One is, sort of bottom up. So you already with existing technology, you just keep patching it and then keep making smaller innovations. I think that's the approach that's been taken on Ethereum and also some other ecosystems. That's certainly valuable because a lot of stuff I learned from practice. And then another approach is, Gavin's sort of approach is he's already done EVM and designed it and built it, implemented. And then there's a lot of lessons learned from the EVM itself, as well as the approach of launching a network. So he designed the stuff top down, right? So he has a plan of how Polkadot should be designed and architect. And then you can see the interesting thing is the two area now is converging, right? You can see, Polygon is kind of like actively referencing, Polkadot as this hub and spoke, sort of the multi-shard approach. And also each shard is, sort of different, right? So that is kind of a special thing on Polkadot. And then also this Kanary network architecture that you are able to test stuff on an incentivized network is also kind of like spread across. So I guess the great minds probably think alike. At some point, either the Polkadot tech is going to become internet, that everyone just use it and more focus on the use case rather than the underlying internet technology, or everyone just going to be sound like Polkadot, I guess, at some point. But in any case, this is great because a lot of these things needs to be inspired, right? So most stuff comes from an idea. So I'm very, very glad that the ideas that created by Polkadot, even though folks already built code for the last 3 years, but those ideas once spread out, hopefully it's going to inspire many more innovation. As long as all the networks are interconnected, I think overall the users will be benefited from this interconnected network. And as for Kanary network specifically, I think for us, it's a tremendous lessons learned through the process, because so far we've launched on Kusama with about, I think, over 300 million TVL already on the network. And that's only our phase 1 launch. So that's local economy of Kusama. So we haven't even turned globalization. We haven't opened up our bridges, haven't opened up our EVM, which will come sort of the next stage once the first stage is like solid. So you can see it's already kind of like fulfilling some of the ideas that we have. But at the same time, a lot of things are done first time. So Gauntlet network is one of this economic auditor. So they've been using Kusama, KSM's data points, also Karura's data points to figure out what are the economics that we dreamed of is actually working, right? And then how we actually manage risks and assess risks. And also due to the complexity of this whole thing, we have to build additional tooling and support systems. So when we get to Acala, things can be automated, and alert system is up and running. So so I think regardless what great plans you have, we managed to execute those, but at the same time, there are a lot of new stuff that we've been building along the way just because we have a Kanary network that we can test things within reasonable cost, right? So
whenever you're innovating and creating technology that doesn't exist prior, you always somehow seem to uncover 10 more things that need to be built or done in order to support the first thing that you built. It's always incredible to see that. I look at some of the repos from some of the teams, and it's like 120 repos with different utilities and tools and all these things that they're trying to build to support that ecosystem. So I'm sure it's very complex for you guys. And I think you're completely right about learning from other networks. Polkadot has done some like really, really interesting things. One of the reasons why we were so fascinated with getting Parachain support, at Kraken, has just been the way things are done are just so different, and we're starting to see that bleed into like the previous networks. Ethereum and all these guys are like starting to, okay, maybe that's working. Like they might have been skeptical at first, but the interoperability is proven to be key, right? Like a lot of the EVM stuff that's working on Ethereum is being ported over to Polkadot and Kusama, and that just creates a much stronger crypto environment for everybody. So that's pretty cool. And $300 million, that's nothing to sneeze at. That's like a pretty good amount of money to already be building out. So one of the things that's been touted as like a really great benefit of Polkadot and Kusama is the idea around the referendums and the proposals for upgrading the chain and the voting mechanism. And that has proven to go very smoothly, the actual execution of that for the most part. But one of the things I want to ask you is, as a project that relies on the chain to be stable and to like understand what's going on, do you guys find that these kind of like rolling changes are they impediments? Does it slow you down, or you guys feel like you're able to keep up with that and it's not a problem, or do you kind of just got to deal with the conditions of the network as they come?
So I mean, if you work in the software engineering field, rolling out new innovations, bug fixing is a norm, right? You should ask yourself if a piece of code been staying there for 50 years and hasn't changed, that would be a problem rather than the other way around. It's only because, in the past, we are given a piece of tech, maybe like Bitcoin or Ethereum, nothing can be changed. Well, nothing can be easily changed. Then we took it for granted, right? So I think as innovator, you should always challenge the status quo and say, given what we are trying to achieve, given we are still evolving, given that we are trying to, kind of innovate. Well, for us, it's in the field of finance. Continue to understand the real user requirements and building the tech. Why would we stay still, right? And so I think the upgradability is actually that silver bullet. The silver bullet is actually change is the constant, basically. Mm-hmm. With all the stuff that we can think about at this point in time, right? So for example, we've implemented our customized fee schedule. That you can pay fees in any tokens or even stable coin. That's only because we know stuff from the past that this is going to be useful for folks who are settling at a large scale. But what happens tomorrow is going to be new requirements. And then new folks coming into the field that would want to integrate or build stuff that will have different requirements and customizations. And also at the same time, there will be also other technological ideas that come from maybe other ecosystem that we learn. What would you do with that? So I think a sort of dynamic and also living system is the most powerful system. And the living system is basically powered by the substrate architecture that Polkadot and Kusama has already been using it to kind of upgrade itself. And Karura has gone through the same sort of lifestyle, if you like. It's a living chain. So when a new tech that comes along, and then a fault been discovered, because there's no one can claim they've built perfect software, right? If anyone said that, they must be lying. So giving enough time, there will be bugs.
I've written some pretty perfect software myself, so I don't like to brag too much, but no.
Yeah, well, I mean, unless it's one liner, right? Hello world, then yeah, it can be deemed perfect.
I've seen it messed up many times.
As well, right? So then Karura also gone through this process of upgrading itself, and certainly the sort of the architecture of Polkadot is you have the substrate framework, right? And then they are all modularized. So basically, innovation can be spread exponentially across the entire ecosystem. And EVM is a good example. EVM on Polkadot, I would like to make an analogy there is it's like an app in the app store of Substrate. EVM is just an app. Any chain can just download the app and then make your chain EVM compatible, which means Solidity contracts can be deployed and also run with it, right? So you can see once that's very powerful. That means you don't have to wait 12 months, 36 months for a new EVM layer 1 chain to come out. In the past, from 2017, those are all the promises, right? You build an EVM compatible chain, you tweak one thing, and that's the new project. However, on the substrate space, that is just an app. You just download, and then you are EVM compatible, and then you can also make other customization to improve it, right, in a way that you want. And that's spread across the entire ecosystem, whether there's 100 chain, 1,000 chain, or 10,000 chain, the innovation is exponential, right? But also at the same time, once you've got that power, that's very, very powerful. Everything is automated, things are upgradable, innovation can spread across super fast, but that also comes with risks, right? This is also risks of today's all very much connected network. If some virus or some issues that's been found on one place, it can also be spread across the networks. So, and that is the sort of that is something that's come with this kind of exponential innovation. So, and that is the complexity that we are dealing with as well. So I think collectively also as an ecosystem, we are starting to also evolve into this more collective like monitoring and then have the ability to kind of work with each other to make sure all the versioning and upgrading are consistent and coherent to each other. And we are evolving as well. So we no longer see ourselves as just a Acala team. We actually see the whole Polkadot, the interconnected network as one, right? So this is a one ecosystem that we're evolving together. If we contribute innovation, it benefits everyone. The same thing happens when others do the same thing to us. And then also at the same time, if we also contribute in safeguarding the network security, while we are sharing the network security, but we also help safeguard network security, then it benefits others and it also benefits you, right? So this is the real sort of the new sort of how you organize work and how you see the relationship between ultimately it's people as well as the network, right? Behaving to kind of like reaching this sort of the common better future, right? Even though you're all specializing in different areas, sort of fulfilling different purposes, but you have this sort of common layer that you're trying to safeguard and continue to innovate. So I think collectively that's going to be really, really powerful because if you want to go really fast, you just go alone. But if you want to go very long and achieve something great, you got to go together. So I think that's, or at least the ethos that we are adopting here.
Yeah, the sharing culture in Polkadot and Kusama is like so much different than I think a lot of the ways that other projects have approached building their own blockchains. I mean, we saw for years this like mentality. It's like, well, ETH is cool, but like we need to build a ETH killer. Like it just came along, but that's not a guarantee that it's going to succeed, right? Like there has to be some kind of level of like sharing amongst the whole community of like concepts and technologies. And I think Polkadot and Kusama have done such an amazing job at that. I mean, I don't think there was a single interview where like you guys weren't brought up as someone that these teams wanted to work with. Like when we have the other Parachain podcast, they're like, oh, we're going to do this with Acala and we'd love to be able to try this with whatever they're doing, which is amazing because you don't generally get projects talking so much about other teams. But in this space, it's like very, very common. And as far as the EVM is concerned, it's hard to argue that the EVM is not one of the most valuable pieces of the Ethereum ecosystem, right? And ETH is the biggest, it's the big gorilla in the room, right? Like in terms of smart contracts. So with that being said, I mean, doing a transaction on Ethereum is so expensive compared to some of these other networks, but yet they're still the most popular. What do you think Polkadot and Kusama have to do to kind of attract people away from that, to say, hey, look, guys, there's greener fields?
Yeah, so I think we always look at this type of stuff from a slightly different angle, because if you actually look at crypto and the actual users of crypto, I think on Ethereum, the most used protocol is daily average users like 1,000 or 1,500. That's the BAU, right? On Karura, we've already achieved that, right? So, and I don't think we are taking people away from Ethereum to do that, right? So I think we look at it as this field is such a tiny field for how many people are involved in DeFi, in crypto. However, these people are here to kind of evolve the culture and trying to, brainwash each other with the decentralized idea, because they're the early adopters and they're trying all sorts of like crazy, fun, new things of farming and all the innovations that, majority of people would have no idea what they are doing. However, the majority of the population is right here, right? They have a real pain point to solve. And some of the innovation that this small group of people are doing here, some of those can be distilled and actually create real application and help the real world out there. And our view is more of a lot of these projects, we are actually companion to each other rather than we're trying to compete or take the user away from you. We want to actually bring more users in, right? So for example, we are seeing opportunities to actually work with agencies that are able to deliver the end user experience. For what we are building as, I think we are still building at an infrastructure level for DeFi. And we are going to replace the traditional sort of systems, but I don't think we're going to replace all the people. I don't think we're going to replace the agencies that are able to serve in a particular jurisdiction and then compliant and also being regulated in one way or another, because regulation is mostly there to protect rather than have any sort of ill intention. That's my belief anyway. So with that in mind, then what we've built here can be kind of integrated or create this hybrid economy to be able to serve a lot more people out there. So the example will be our sort of integration with current.com, and then they serve 3 million US consumers, right? And then we don't necessarily need to get exposed to those users, but our tech can be integrated through folks like us. And then ultimately, that actually means if this sort of model works, one day my mom and dad will be able to swipe a card and then be able to enjoy the yield that's probably be generated from Polkadot, and then do their grocery shopping without knowing they're even using the tech that we are building, right? Because I don't think my mom and dad will ever remember those 24 words to generate a weird wallet on their computer. They don't even have a computer, right? So I think there's a long way for us to all sort of to kind of innovate to actually get there. So I think looking ahead, what the platform that enable us to do is this upgradability, continue to actually be able to create applications that maybe cross multiple different chains, connected chains, right, to deliver the right experience to the end users. And also another thing that will be interesting is, why would the payment or the fees, the economy has to be exactly the same? It doesn't have to be exactly the same. On Ethereum, you have to pay the ETH gas fee. On other chains, mostly this gas fee. And the way that we are structuring it is not only you can pay fees in a different token, but potentially if you do want to set it up, it can be feeless, right? So that's offered by Substrate, and we are able to customize that to suit certain use cases. So, and this will open doors for many more sort of users that feel the Web3 is very, very foreign just because of a lot of the friction that are being created because it's a new technology, right? So I think we are kind of at the turning point here that we've got the tech to actually really improve the UX, not just at the how nice the interface look, but actually fundamentally can remove a lot of the friction that to stop people from mass adopting this technology. So so I'm more sort of looking forward to a lot more collaboration and open the door for a lot more people to come into the space than just focusing on a small group. But we're still serving that small group because it's fun. So,
as you were talking, I was just thinking, wow, I feel like I've been in this space forever, but there's just so much more to learn, and like there's so much further for us to go. Like just that use case you were talking about, like getting yield and, and involving cars and like thinking about my parents doing that kind of thing. Like the user experience has to get so much better on all these things, but you guys are building the foundation for like those kinds of things to actually become reality. And it's extremely exciting to think about that, considering how simple and basic like cryptocurrency was like 8 years ago, but well, so last time we had you on, Dan, we were basically talking about the auctions themselves because that was like right what was about to happen, and then we had you on when you guys won. So let's talk a little bit about the upcoming Polkadot auctions. So we just found out.
Yeah, here we are again.
So they announced that they're going to do the Polkadot auctions. They're coming up in November, which is like right around the corner, making me very glad that we did Kusama auctions, so we're prepared, and I'm sure you guys feel the same way. But also simultaneously, they're going to have continuous Kusama auctions ongoing as well. Do you think that's a smart decision, or do you think it's just inevitable, or what? Like that those things will be going on right at the same time?
Well, first of all, it's kind of funny because now you're saying that Kraken is actually benefiting from the Kusama Polkadot model because you guys have already practiced this, done it once on Kusama, now you're ready to go for Polkadot. So another example of Kusama's benefit. On your other question around doing Kusama Parachain auctions like concurrently with the Polkadot ones, that has actually been kind of talked about and discussed over the last couple of days in governance, and it's still not confirmed. So we may actually see that change in the actual proposal that goes through governance and gets voted in. So not 100% sure how that's actually going to pan out. Yeah, in terms of like what it would be like, I think, yeah, when I first saw that, my reaction was, wow, this is going to be crazy seeing Kusama slots opening up at the same time as Polkadot ones. I think it would be fine. These are two networks, and they're going to eventually have to get to the point where these things are happening in parallel. Are we ready for that yet? That's still up for question. But yeah, I know we're definitely ready for the first 5 Polkadot Parachain auctions, and that's what's starting on November 11th.
Yeah, we're used to Kusama, expect chaos, but then you start to think like, can Polkadot expect chaos from Kusama because of what it's doing? But I guess we'll see soon enough. So you guys, I assume you guys are going to be bidding for the first slot. Yes, no,
yeah, of course.
Yes, definitely, right? Okay. So what are you guys doing to prepare, or do you guys feel strong like that your previous experiences got you lined up for this? Like, what are some things that you guys have to actually do to get prepared for that?
Yeah, we did a similar thing that we did last time, which is starting out with a wait list and just gauging interest. I remember for the Karura Parachain auction, I think we ended around like 22,000 people subscribed for the wait list, and then that resulted in the end in about 20,000 accounts actually participating in the crowd loan. This time, we went a little bit wider. We wanted to not only talk to the Polkadot and Kusama ecosystem, but try to bring some new people into the ecosystem. So did a couple of things like marketing wise, and ended up, we just closed our waitlist at 165,000 people. So we had huge interest in Acala and getting involved in this process. And it was an interesting and really fun challenge for myself and Robin, who I work with quite often, on how do we explain this process in very simple terms. So we boiled it down to, you contribute crypto, you earn crypto, and then you get your crypto back. That's what happens in a crowd loan. You contribute DOT, you get this other bonus crypto from a project like Acala with a token like ACA, and then after 2 years, you get all the DOT back that you contributed or loaned, which is why it's called a crowd loan. So here we are now. We have 165,000 people on the wait list, and about 50,000 more have signed up since we even closed the wait list. And now the process is, okay, this process is all done on the blockchain, on using Polkadot, using wallets like Polkadot.js. this is a new experience for a lot of these people. So Robin and Brett on our team created this brilliant way of onboarding people. Yeah. Kraken is another option for sure. So there'll be a lot of people doing that. And Kraken, of course, has been great throughout the whole process. But just explaining how we're helping onboard people, we created these things called Acala quests, and we're giving people an additional 2% bonus and an NFT for essentially onboarding into the Polkadot ecosystem. So we're looking at this not only as a way of onboarding people and helping them get involved in the crowd loan, but this is us also giving back to the broader Polkadot ecosystem. We're essentially onboarding people as Polkadot users in general. And then also post-launch, these are all people who will be Acala users. So they'll be able to come in and start learning about DeFi, maybe use our stablecoin or start staking through Acala. So really excited to see how this actually results with our crowd loan, how many people can actually contribute, and hopefully we can kind of achieve our goal, which is to be the first parachain to launch on Polkadot.
Yeah, we do expect many of those users will go directly to an exchange like Kraken, right? Yep. So, and for us, the important thing is to kind of get the words out for how Polkadot does its fair launch, right? Since we are, kind of bidding for the first auction slot, we feel the strong responsibility of helping to educate more folks, not just the folks who's already in the circle, right? They already know why we're doing this, but more so is this like really cool fair launch approach. You get your crypto back, you keep the teams accountable for what they're going to deliver during the period of the lease period of 2 years on Polkadot. And this is like a very, very new way for crowdsourcing support, but also keeping teams delivery as accountable, right? That you can never do that on an ICO or any other model other than this type of crowd loan model. So that's why we taking a lot of time to educate those people. And then once those people are kind of like attracted and learn a little bit more, and they are going to overflow to the entire Polkadot ecosystem. And Acala is probably just the first point of contact. They come in and they're going to flow to other projects. They're going to use other platforms like Kraken and other platforms, because as they know a little bit more, they're going to explore what is the best way that's suited for them, right? I think the best thing in this ecosystem is like choices. So you've got many different choices that you can participate as well. And we've also learned from our Kusama crowd loan, where we locked up 5% of the KSM supply. That's a lot of KSM that's been locked up, hibernating there. And we're getting a lot of feedback, like if we do lock up a lot of DOT and it's like 2 years, and that's like a lifetime or multiple lifetime in crypto, right? So can we help to create some products? As mentioned, we always thinking, how can we do better next time? So this time around, we created this liquid crowd loan product to combat exactly that challenge, right? So basically, when you contribute, you get a receipt of your DOT contributed 1-to-1, and then you receive this token called LC DOT. And in 2 years' time, you can redeem the DOT underlying from the crowd loan. And that is the LC DOT's purposes. And of course, with a liquid token like that, you can imagine during the 2 years' time, opens up the choices that you can do. So you can hodl it without doing anything, and then you just redeem your DOT in 2 years' time. That's an option. Or you can trade it, right? You can swap it to DOT if you want early liquidity, or you just trade it for dollars or whatever. So you can trade it. And then, you want to give it, send it to your friends. You can transfer it. And of course, we are a DeFi hub, right? So there's a number of opportunities there for further yield generation. So you can put it into a stablecoin as a collateral, and you can put it into the liquidity pool as LP to earn some yield. And then there's also protocols built on top of Acala to use this asset, and then there's further yield opportunity. And basically, it allows you to do two things at the same time. You participate in the crowd loan, but also be able to participate in the economy of Polkadot and Acala as well. So I guess that is the beauty of crypto, is you are able to have your asset at two different places at exactly the same time without compromising each other's utility, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, I mean, it seems like a no-brainer, but that's a huge. It's going a long way to allay a lot of the fears of some of the people that would be contributing to these things, thinking, "Oh my God, I'm going to really put like a considerable amount of money into something for 2 years, never get it back until then, and I don't even know what's going to come out of it." That's how a lot of people think when they want to contribute to this, or whether they're going to do it or not. So what are some things? I'm thinking you quoted a number like 160,000 people interested in this round. One of the big things is like people have said, "Oh, well, here's Kusama, but Polkadot is 10 times bigger. It's a much more well-known blockchain." Kusama, most people outside of substrate space and Polkadot community don't even know what Kusama is, and probably still don't, but they definitely know what Polkadot is. So how do you think that's going to affect participation and like how people view these new parachains? Like, what are your expectations for how things will go on Polkadot versus Kusama?
Yeah, I'll take a stab. So one thing that we saw in Kusama that I thought was really interesting and unexpected is that some of the teams that went through the second batch of these parachain slot auctions raised the same amount or more KSM than some teams did in the first, which everyone thought was super hyped up. I think part of what happened was a lot of the people who contributed in the first set of auctions had a good experience and told their friends. So then it spread and had these network effects, so that the second time these auctions came around, even more people participated in that round. So I'm kind of wondering if that's going to happen again on Polkadot. We're all doing a good job of spreading the word, and there's going to be a ton of participation in these first auctions. But I wouldn't really be surprised if the second batch of Polkadot auctions get as much or more attention, just because, first of all, the media is going to start. You guys are doing a great job, but the overall crypto media isn't really covering this. That will start to happen when they see the multiple billions of dollars that are contributed to these crowd loans. And then second of all these people going out and just talking to their family and friends about what happened. I think that could potentially happen again on Polkadot too.
It's an incredible time. I mean, today, for those listening, I mean, I'm sure this will be posted later, but today Bitcoin broke all-time high since, it hadn't happened since April, so everybody's just going crazy in the crypto space right now. I think that's going to bring a lot of like really great positive interest in crypto all across over to Polkadot parachains as well. What do you think is the biggest thing that you guys have learned from doing Kusama auctions that you think you'll carry over to Polkadot?
I think from my side is the people. So I think we've always go out as an educator, because when you do it as the first person or the first team to do something like this, you always carry the responsibility of kind of educating, the ethos why we are doing this, and just help people to get through the process, whether they contribute to your project or not, right? Because overall, this is a new thing to the industry, and then through that process, we've I think for Karura, we've gained 20,000 or more unique contributions. I think that is the thing that makes us really proud, is individual contributors. So I think that is something that we've always value and treasure, and all of those people now turn into our community member. They participate in one way or another. Some of them are more interested in governance. Some of them are more interested in the specific things of DeFi, and some are interested in some other stuff like community running and things like that. So I think everyone will find their own niche to be able to contribute to this collective effort, right? So I think that is certainly the one thing that I would like to kind of continue to do for Acala, and probably do it at another level, right? Because just because Polkadot is more well known, and we're able to reach a lot more people outside of the inner circle of Kusama and Polkadot. So yeah, I'm sure Dan, you have something else to add.
I was going to say the same thing. So education was one of the biggest takeaways from my end on the Karura experience, and I guess along with that is communication. So not only educating everyone on this brand new process and how it all works, but also during the auction process and then post-launch, just not making any assumptions that people know what's going on, because we can think that people do, but at the end of the day, there's so much in the world going on for people to give their attention to. We need to continue to do a good job of explaining to people where we are in the launch process, what's next, what has been accomplished so far, and what's going on going forward. So one thing we've been doing recently is like these community calls with Karura. We do them every week, just keeping people updated on the launch. We've really enjoyed that process, and we'll continue doing that going forward for Polkadot and Acala as well.
Well, you guys have certainly done an amazing job on the education front, I have to say. And I know that we really appreciate everything you guys have done to help us at Kraken educate our clients and users for how to participate in the auctions. And I thank you personally for coming onto the podcast and sharing a lot of information about Acala and Karura. Thank you so much for stopping by again. I really wish you guys the best of luck on the next round of auctions. And just one final question. Nobody gets out of this. Betty, we ask every guest for a chaos score. So Kusama, expect chaos. We just want to know number 1 to 10, 10 being the most chaotic ever, 1 being not chaotic at all. What would you give the overall experience of building the project on Kusama?
11.
11. I wasn't anticipating that because you talk so like confidently about everything. I thought maybe you'd be like, it's a 1, it's a 2, but 11, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, there's always something that you unexpect. And even though I thought we've been building everything for 2 years, we should just be very zen and it's just like, everything is easy. But it's not really. It's like, this is like complicated tech and lots of situation. It's very, very new, basically. So yeah, chaos. But hopefully Polkadot's going to be zen, right? So.
Hopefully. Well, now you have like 34 people to help you instead of just 4. So hopefully it's going smoother. Well, thank you so much for joining the podcast. And unfortunately, we'll have to leave it there for now, but maybe we'll have you guys back on soon. And I look forward to seeing everything you guys come out with in the future. So thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah.
Huge thank you to our guests, Betty and Dan. It was great to get an update on the Karura launch and find out what to expect from Acala and the upcoming Polkadot auctions. And thank you to our listeners, yes, you, for stopping by. Make sure you like, subscribe, and review us on your favorite podcast platform, and we'll be sure to bring you along as we get a backstage pass to the world of Parachain auctions. Until next time, I'm Brian Hoffman, and this has been the Parachain Auctions podcast. This content is not financial or investment advice. All interviews and discussions are opinions only. Kraken does not endorse the accuracy of this content. None of the following information should be construed as a recommendation to support any specific Parachain project or to participate in Parachain auctions in general. See our terms of service for more information.